I'm here with Matt Mitler, Dzieci Theater Group, and Matt's going to talk about some of the performances, workshops, and other wonderful things that the group does for me. Yeah.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
So I don't have anything prepared, which is part of the way that we work in Dzieci, which is we don't try to come in with an agenda. But in a way of relating what the group's about, I can talk about what we've just done and what we're about to do. So about a week ago, we did our annual marathon workshop, which is a 24-hour long workshop that people come from all over to take part in. And we begin at 7 a.m. on a Saturday and end at 7 a.m. on a Sunday the next day. And it's entirely nonverbal. There's no speaking. There's no sort of socializing. Everything is in ritual and in a ceremonial sort of process, including all the meals. We might work with a piece of text. We might work with a song, which we did this time. And we don't really know what's necessarily going to happen during the course of the 24 hours because we don't know who's going to be there to do the workshop with us. And it's dependent upon the mix of people. But this was a strong one. We did it at West Park Presbyterian Church in the city because our usual rehearsal space wasn't available. So we were able to do the first half of it in a small chapel and then move in a very interesting fashion into the sanctuary sometime in the middle of the night. And we did some exploration of mask work for the first time in the marathon. We did sort of cheesecloth neutral masks and moved into the sanctuary wearing the mask, so people saw the sanctuary for the first time through a mesh of cheesecloth. And then usually at a certain point we move into a more kind of tribal, more primitive ritual form with drumming, which we did do this time. So that's something we do every year, and it's a work for ourselves that we then open up to the public to participate with. But if no one were to join it as a participant, we would still do it because it's our work. And before we ever did it for the public, we did it amongst ourselves. And that kind of process, that sort of, people call it long form or whatever you want to call it, goes back to studies that I had with humanistic psychology and psychotherapy and marathon therapy sessions and workshops, and also with Grotowski and the Polish Theater Lab, which had an event called the Tree of People Project, which when I did it was 48 hours long. So these were influential sort of experiences for me. Eugenio Barba would work from 12 midnight to 9 a.m. I mean, there were a lot of people that I worked with that had forms and structures that sort of supported a deeper inquiry. A lot of the work of the group is that it's not about, I master this thing, or I want to know this thing, or I present this thing. It's about asking questions. So that's a workshop, and we do workshops throughout the year. In February, we're having open sessions where people can come spend the mornings with us on Sundays, and Thursday nights we'll work on music. And in the meantime, right now, we are bringing our Fool's Mass to a few places. And Fool's Mass is a piece we've been doing for about 15 years, which takes place, the concept is that it's the Middle Ages, and there's a group of village idiots who are a choir of a small parish, small church, during the plague years, and their pastor dies right before Christmas Mass, and they're left on their own. So it's a farce setup, but it's not a farce. And we usually do that in December all around the city. St. John the Divine is a place we do it at every year, a few other places, and we were hired to bring it to Kingston, New York, Sunday, this is the past Sunday, and this coming weekend we'll be doing it in Bethlehem, Connecticut for a private school for boys, the Woodhall School, and for the Abbey of Regina Laudis to do it for a group of nuns, which will be very interesting. So that's Fool's Mass. Then we kind of go back to our training work, which is pretty much Sunday days, Thursday nights, and then as necessary per project. And then in the spring, we'll be working on a Passion, which we started to explore a few years ago with the same group of nuns. They had brought us in to recreate a Passion for their Holy Week for Easter, and they wanted the Dzieci touch on it. So they wanted the Passion according to St. Matthew, and they had the text, and they had some ideas, but not many ideas, and we had no ideas. So we just began a process of working with them, and it became a very intense and richly fulfilling event for everybody. And afterwards we thought, well, we want to continue something with this. So we continued a process with the nuns, which led to a Shakespeare pastiche that they presented for their mother abbess, which we spent a year working on. But then we wanted to keep exploring this passion. So we said, is there something in it for us? Let's see. And the first step was, can we bring Judaism into it? I'm Jewish background, and other people in the group are of mixed religions. And we said, can we make it so it's not something specifically Catholic? And we began to find earlier sources of text and bring in Hebrew and chant and all kinds of things. And it ended up being something fairly non-denominational and really interreligious. So we had audiences of different religions coming to see it last year. And this year, we hope to bring it to some synagogues as well. So that will be like around Easter, Passover, April, mid-April. And that will be a piece that will involve the company, but we'll bring in a few people outside the company to kind of work with us. But most of the work, you mentioned earlier about our version of Macbeth, which is called Macbeth. Most of our work is just the company, and Macbeth is really just the core company. There's only 4 people that perform Macbeth right now, and newer people in the group sort of serve as a kind of chorus. They might greet the audience, read poems, do all kinds of things, try to pick people's pockets. We're all gypsies in this piece. And support it with chanting and clapping and who knows what, because that piece, like all of our work, is different every single time. So the 2 main pieces we have right now are the Fool's Mass and Macbeth. The Passion will come and go on Easters as long as it serves us in some way. And we created a piece 2 years ago called Ragnarok, which is based on the Nordic epic of Ragnarok, the fall of the gods, all the Norse gods, Odin and Thor and Loki. And that was a massive piece that we did for the Beat Festival out here. And we will bring that back at some point in a new incarnation. And we've been for years off and on, and I'm talking about like 12 years at least, working on an adaptation of Moby Dick. So our musical explorations right now are with sacred harp singing, because we feel that's a sort of music style that would fit with that period of time and with people pulling ropes on a ship. So we're improvising with rope, we're improvising with sticks that could be harpoons and oars and things, and we're kind of looking at the text and seeing how we might approach this. It could be a piece that has no text, it could be a piece that uses text purely from Melville, or it could be a piece that uses text from William Blake and who knows who else. We don't know. We go into things without any, that's what it's going to be. And even when it reaches something that's presentable to the public, if we keep working on it and bring it back as a ritual every year, it could change to something totally different in 10 years. We don't know. And you mentioned the hospital work. While we're doing all these things, and you wonder how is there time to do other things, we do work of service. So it's interesting for me to work with every kind of marginal community there is, from schizophrenics and psychotics to deaf and blind and hospice dying populations, children, adults, seniors, everything. So the group takes that on as, again, a way of self-study. And all the music that we do, that we work on, is practice in these conditions. So a song in Fool's Mass is likely to have been sung at the bedside of somebody dying. And when we do that sort of thing, when you practice in that way, those songs are coded by the experience. And then that's in the piece. So the idea is not that we perform in these hospitals. It's that we find a way of being in an essential way, in an essential relationship, and then try to have that relationship with the public, or more on an essential level, where it's more about prayer and grace than it is about presenting anything.
Great. And where's the next place that someone could see the company performing?
Well, Bethlehem, Connecticut, this coming weekend, and look for A Passion. We're calling it A Passion. Somewhere around between April 10th and April 19th. We might go a little bit later than that, in various places around the city. If you go to our website, which is dziecitheater.org, then there'll be postings. You can ask to be on our mailing list, or you can check our Facebook page, which is Dzieci Theater. on
Great.
Facebook.
All right. Thank you very much, Matt.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.